Here we are. Mr. Niven, Mr. Niven. Oh, no, not Mr. Niven?
Please don't embarrass me.
Okay. Niven. When the Second World War broke out, a lot of actors went into the Army, and you got a telegram. Were you summoned in?
No, I actually wasn't. I was not on the reserve of the British Army, but I did the, waving the sword thing.
Yeah.
And I told Goldwyn, who I was under contact to, that I'd been called back,
Mm-hmm.
And of course, as usual, he was much smarter than I realized. So he called Washington and checked with the British Embassy, and they weren't calling anybody back. This is the beginning of the war in 1939.
Hadn't you gotten a wire of some kind?
No, I got my brother to send me one later.
Oh, that's it.
Yes.
Yeah.
But and off I went, 6.5 years.
Well, there was kind of a prejudice against actors in the military. I know. I always read that Clark Gable had a rough time because they figured, here's this fancy guy that we've seen on the screen, and now he thinks he's a soldier.
I think there was. I think that they just didn't believe it, and all these terrible generals and people saw, and they would say things like, well, why don't you go on entertaining us instead of running about with a uniform on? They were charming, really.
As if that were men's work and yours was frivolous.
Yes. Yeah. But we muddled through.
Yeah. What was the closest shave you had in that time?
Oh, well, I don't know. I was in it a long time, Yeah. And so many people had much worse times than I did that I don't, if you'll forgive me, I don't want to look like some semi-hero. I certainly wasn't. Nobody more terrified than me. But I got the Iron Cross, though, which was something. And in Normandy, about 3 days after the landing, there was one tiny bridge at a place called Canton. It's no bigger from there to here, which connected the American First Army and the British Second Army. And we had to cross this damn thing, and it was being shelled all the time. And so they had some holes you popped into if there was any rudeness, you see. And I was going over this bridge in a jeep, and they started pooping off at it, so I popped out into the hole. And when it was over, and the bridge was mostly gone, and I looked out, and right in the hole next to me was John McClane. John McClane was a very respected critic for the Journal American for Broadway, and a great, sweet, wonderful, fat, lovely friend of mine. And he was dressed up as a lieutenant in the American Navy, sitting in this hole next to me with his head sticking up. I hadn't seen him for a long time. And so McClane, we had this reunion, you can imagine, gave me the Iron Cross. And what had happened was that Cherbourg was still full of Germans and having a very rough time in there, so the general defending Cherbourg, called von Schleben, was handing out Iron Crosses to the defenders to keep them happy, to make them braver. And he ran out of Iron Crosses, so they signaled to Germany to get some more. And a fighter plane came over and dropped a whole bag of them. And they dropped them on McClane. And so he had this big bag of Iron Crosses, and he gave me one. I had it for a long time during the war.
So you were here on our side and their side?
On this side.
Yeah. You should have gotten one for an opening night that you went through with Gloria Swanson, actually.
Okay. It's right near here, too, right near here.
A couple of blocks away.
Yes.
Yeah.
Utter disaster. It was a play called Nina, and, oh, God. And Gloria is not very tall, And she played my mistress, and there was one other fellow in the cast, Alan Webb, and he was the husband. And Gloria has a clothing company, or she had then a clothing company on the side in case, for the actors should, like, have a bicycle shop or something against the rainy day. And Gloria had this clothing company called the Pilgrim Something Corporation. And she had a clause in her contract that she should design and wear her own clothes in this thing. And I thought she wore some very strange garments indeed. And the opening night on Broadway, very smart, with the Luntz, Rex Harrison, everybody, Tallulah out there. I'm gibbering with fright. First time on Broadway, and there I am, waiting for my mistress to come on. And the bell rang, and I went to the door, and here's Swanson in a sort of black taffeta tent with her head sticking out like a most awful sight. So she came on, and there was a gasp of horror mingled with the applause, and I had to kiss her in this big meeting. And I grabbed her, and I tried to smile. It was fatal, because my lip got stuck, and I was like this. Mad. It was a terrible leering gopher, and I grabbed her and squeezed through fright too hard in the initial clinch, and there was suddenly a loud report and a sort of twanging noise, and 4.5 inches of white whalebone came out of her chest and right up my nose, right on the end here. And And the audience, you see, they adored this. They thought it was part of the plot. They laughed. And she stirred around down here, and the thing was up in the scroll bones, up in the sinus. Tears are pouring out. Anyway, in the morning. Oh, and then I finally said, well, and she looked up, and she said, ooh, she started to pull it, you know. And the whole dress was awful. And in the morning, I've still got the clipping. Walter Kerr, Herald Tribune. We understood from the program that Miss Swanson designed her own clothes. Like the play, they fell apart in the first act.
Oh, that's awful. But certainly a nice story. We'll be right back.